Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
And this is Fish Jelly.
Yeah.
How are you?
You know, there are times when I look above and beyond.
Oh, how appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Because we went to a concert last night. We saw Janet Jackson,
Uh-huh.
Janet Demita Joe Jackson, who's 57 years old.
Yeah.
She performed the first show of the season at the Hollywood Bowl. What did you think?
It was quite a show. It was really good. I mean, I was kind of surprised, well, at a couple things, really, but
Well, first off, how many times have you seen her?
um, I think this is my fourth
Fourth time?
or fifth.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was kind of surprised at the limited number of backup dancers she has, but she looked really good. Um, I liked all the costume changes, and there's a fireworks show that was a surprise as well.
Yeah, at the end, the final song before the encore was Rhythm Nation. And I was surprised. I didn't realize, well, because of course I've watched footage on YouTube, but not all of the venues are outdoors. The Hollywood Bowl is. So during Rhythm Nation, she had a fireworks show that lasted the entire song.
Uh-huh.
It was a lot of fireworks.
With explosions that also were patterned to the beat of the song.
Yeah, the timing of the fireworks, it was on beat. So that was really great. Oh, God. There's a dog going crazy. Anyway, yeah, I've seen her. This might be like the 25th time I've seen her.
Mm-hmm.
She only had 4 dancers, which is the fewest number of dancers I've seen her with. She needed more on stage, I think, but it's just fun seeing her, and she can still get down. Obviously she's a little more economical
With her movements.
with her movements because she is a person of a particular age and on a tour and needs to make sure that she, I guess, has enough gas in the engine to keep going. So yeah, she can still do what she needs to do, but she definitely reserves the dancing for like the big breakdowns that we all know,
Mm-hmm.
the choreography we all know. She does that, but it's just been a really interesting journey to watch her. The first concert was in 1990, so I've been seeing her perform for 33 years,
Mm-hmm.
and she still puts on a hell of a show. And I think a testament to her as an entertainer is there isn't much happening on stage. It's just her, 4 guys, and a bunch of hits.
She did bring out the Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles,
Which was a little awkward. I think mainly because she's known for being so rehearsed and like
mm-hmm.
every breath is rehearsed. And then for this one, because it was the opening show of the season for the Hollywood Bowl, she did have the youth orchestra there, and they played the instrumentation for the song Again. They sounded fine.
They sounded fine. She brought one little girl up who was cute.
She was real cute, yeah. But clearly, this isn't part of the normal show. But this is also the most sort of like, she seemed really loose,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like she was having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, she kisses one of the dancers. What did you think of that?
I think we both looked at each other because she kisses this dancer very intimately, like they are lovers, darling.
Because initially, based on the camera view, we thought maybe she was pretending,
Mm-hmm.
or I did. But then we get the side view, and she is really going in.
They're sharing some tongue, and then she turns around. She leads him off the stage and turns around and gives this huge shit-eating grin to the audience. So, I mean, she did it because she knew people would talk about it, but
Maybe she's dating him.
I don't know.
Madonna does it every year. She has a new 20-something-year-old boyfriend every year who's also a dancer. So
what was his name? Diego. She said all their names on stage.
His name I don't know, but we could look it up. Yeah, so that was interesting, and the crowd seemed to, be really into her. Last night was also Mariah Carey performing for LA Pride, which I'm sure people enjoyed.
Well, a real diehard would have seen Janet in Riverside and then Mariah last night. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you really love both, you would have seen one of Janet's earlier shows to then be able to see Mariah. But I've seen Mariah a few times in concert. I don't know that I need to do it,
I never
especially
have.
not like when I have to stand out like in a field somewhere.
No, I never have. I've seen her perform on TV. Uh,
I think if we went
that's
to a
good enough.
concert and we had nice seats and we were comfortable, you'd enjoy it because you know the songs, even if they're not your favorites. And
She has a couple I like,
yeah, and
but
but you would recognize many of them. And she's very funny. Like she does
mhm.
kind of talk, and I think that's where she shines.
It's but I forgot how many songs I actually do like by Ludacris.
Oh shit. Ludacris opened for Janet and he
Hmm.
performed for like 40 minutes.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was recently reminded when we bought the concert tickets, I thought, let me add some Ludacris to my playlist. Yeah, he has a lot of songs I like.
We kept talking about his day one fans.
And
Uh,
then we realized Nick is a day one fan because
I
you can say every lyric to What's Your Fantasy?
well, I used to sing that to my peers in 10th grade honors physics. Uh, because I just really like that song, which was a bunch of uh,
Do you want to give us a little
no,
okay.
no. I was met with disdain during my performing years as a 10th grader, but
Oh,
they were also, to be fair, stuck up, uh, smart science kids.
wow. Moving on. Friday night, you were invited, I don't know why, to an Outfest event.
Yeah, I don't know why either, but I was happy. I'm happy to be invited in places.
Well, I was very unclear what the event was even for. So it was Outfest LA, but then it was like Agbo,
Hmm.
AGBO,
Hmm.
which is drag bingo. I think that name is terrible.
It's well because it sounds like the name of like some monkey in something like the Swiss Family
It
Robinson.
doesn't sound like what it is. And then I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, if it's drag bingo, I don't know. Like, I mean, can't you just do like, I don't know, Dringo or Dragbo or
Rango.
I don't know why it has to be Agbo, but it was at a venue downtown that looked like a workspace,
Hmm.
kind of like my workspace, like at my job,
Hmm.
like a tech open concept. So that was interesting, and they had alcohol and
They
food,
had lots of alcohol.
lots of alcohol, and I they had a like a signature cocktail made out of ginger,
That's pretty good.
and you don't like ginger as much as I do, but I would like to incorporate more ginger into my life.
Hmm.
Uh, and then pizza from Triple Beam Pizza.
Which I like, but it was very cold, and by the
You
time,
like it more than I do. I think it's a hard sell for me because Triple Beam is right next to Masa,
yeah.
which is my favorite. So I
Hmm.
don't know under what circumstances would I say let's eat Triple Beam over Masa, but
Usually it takes someone's intervention for that to happen.
yeah.
But by the time that we had gotten there to have the pizza, it was about the consistency of leather. Uh,
Well, the event started at 6 and it appeared as though the pizza arrived at maybe 5.
yeah,
So by the time we got pizza, it was very cold and it did have the consistency of like, yeah.
I had to work. My mandible was.
But they did have this green bean dish.
They did have a good bean dish.
It was like sauteed green beans with spinach and hazelnuts. And hazelnuts aren't cheap.
No, they.
Shout out to Hell's Kitchen in downtown Minneapolis because they have a porridge,
A wild rice
a
porridge.
wild rice porridge with cranberries and hazelnuts that I think is so good. And I tried to make it one time.
And you,
And that's when I realized hazelnuts were expensive because were we in Malibu? I think your mom and sister were visiting
yeah, actually, I
and
think
we
they,
were looking for Kurt Russell's house in Malibu.
yeah,
And I think we stopped at like a Bristol Farms in Malibu.
and we
And
we found the house. It was sold. I think it
yeah,
was had just been sold.
but yeah, thinking that hazelnuts at a Bristol Farms in Malibu would be reasonably priced.
Oh yeah, no. Well, it's just like rhubarb in L.A. Is expensive, and that's damn weed.
Yeah, you go to Minnesota, it's on the side of the road.
It was in my yard growing up.
For people who haven't seen it, go on YouTube and look up like, I mean, you could probably just look up Um,
Crazy rhubarb lady.
Crazy rhubarb lady, and it's this woman like stealing rhubarb off someone's property.
Well, she's being chastised by some other nosy Parker,
Yes.
uh, who's the woman like telling her she shouldn't be doing that. Seems like a very, you know, square Midwestern woman, and the woman stealing the rhubarb sounds like a demon.
She does.
It's that's the creepiest part. She's,
We can move on. I read something in People People magazine online
oh yeah,
about Anthony Hopkins.
hating his Marvel work.
Yeah,
I saw that headline.
the headline is Anthony Hopkins says working on Thor was pointless acting. Sit on the throne, shout a bit.
Yeah,
So he's referring to his role as King Odin of Asgard.
I mean that's apt.
Uh,
I also saw stuff this week about Chris Hemsworth being all butthurt that Tarantino and Scorsese don't like Marvel films, so he's like, I guess they don't like my work.
that's a tough one because I mean, it is people enjoy it, so that's the purpose of. I don't know. I still maintain like we can't judge what people like. Like a lot of people like the shit. So
What do you mean we can't judge what people like?
well, no, I mean it's like being judgmental about like Marvel's crap, and it's like, well, if you don't like it, you don't like it, but clearly a lot of people do, and isn't that the point of art? Is that for people to enjoy it? And
Hold up, art.
well, I think it's very like I mean I think that attitude is
Mm,
dangerous because then it's like, well, I think I know what's best, and I'm an arbiter of good taste and what people should enjoy. I think that's weird. Like
sure, but I'm
if you
not.
don't like it, you don't like it. You don't have to watch it. Like
No, you know, I think we should all be aware that we are arbiters of our own tastes.
I also think, you know, like when Anthony Hopkins did the first Thor movie, that was in 2011.
Hmm.
So at that point, I mean, I think we knew what these movies were about. They weren't at the level they are now. Like it wasn't as out of hand as far as like we're just going to keep making these movies and try to make them all make sense somehow together. But even in 2011, it was like, well, you know what you're doing. You're making a superhero movie, and you were also younger, so your senility hadn't kicked in fully yet. So I just kind of feel like you agree to do something. It
So
just,
it's okay to be critical.
yeah, but
At least he's aware.
his comments were like, they put me in armor, they shoved a beard on me, sit on the throne, shout a bit. If you're sitting in front of a green screen, it's pointless acting. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, if there would have been that technology 70 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe those classic Hollywood films would have had some green screen acting too, because they do like when they're driving and you can
Well, I don't know that green
and all the
screen.
backdrops they paint
I
like.
don't know that that's useless acting because because I've read at Sigourney Weaver interviews ad nauseum and her talking about doing the motion capture for avatars. Like, oh, she relates it to being like on stage where you have to pretend there's this whole world around you and make the audience believe it.
Yeah, I would think that makes more sense. Like you're acting probably harder because you have to do make believe in your head of
Hmm.
like what's going on around me and how tall is this thing I'm supposed to be looking at and what's over here and look over there and but I still like Anthony Hopkins. I just thought it was interesting, like you know. But also, these older Hollywood men have a tendency to just say shit
Oh yeah.
because they don't give a damn anymore.
I want to read Brian Cox's memoir because I guess he just doesn't give a shit.
There was a question. Can you explain the difference between the Palme d'Or and Grand Prix, and are they awarded in the same year?
Yes, those are both awards given out at the Cannes Film Festival for each at each ceremony. Because so the Palme d'Or, the Golden Palm, that's the top prize. That is, and they have. I know that they have rules, but I don't know exactly what they are. Because, for instance, whatever wins the top prize can't win something else,
Oh,
like best actress or best screenplay, or they have rules for what wins at the top. The Grand Prix is kind of the second place prize, so that is, yeah, exactly that. It's a step below the Palme d'Or, and then they actually have a third place prize that's called the Jury Prize. The Grand Prix is also called the Grand Jury, which is kind of confusing. But Grand Prix, aka Grand Jury, second place. Jury Prize is third place.
thank you for that. We also have some entries in the Sorry to This Man section.
Yeah, I was talking
First off,
fast and loose this week, huh?
the movie Dollyland, which we have a YouTube review for. Neither of us know, I guess. Well, I know we don't know who Suki Waterhouse is, but then Nick said, and I went along with it because I don't know, that Suki Waterhouse is in True Blood, but in reality, the character he was thinking of, the character's name is Suki Stackhouse,
That's true. That's my bad. But then,
and she's played by Anna Paquin.
yeah, yeah,
But we
yeah.
still don't know what Suki Waterhouse is known
What
for.
did she become known for? Why was she all of a sudden something
I didn't bother to look her up, but
that?
yeah, Suki Stackhouse. What? How interesting though. What a unique name, Suki Waterhouse and Suki Stackhouse. But
Yeah, so,
because we've never watched True
I've
Blood.
never watched True Blood, and somehow in my mind, I think it was about the time The Bad Batch came out. I just, I don't know who did this to me or who cast the spell on me, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's she's notable because of that. Because I can't explain why she's all of a sudden the lead in indie films.
Okay, then we reviewed a movie called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, and I thought Denzel Whitaker was Forrest Whitaker's kid.
But I've thought that for years.
And maybe that's because Denzel Whitaker plays Forrest Whitaker's kid in The Great Debaters, and they look like they could be
They could be
father
related.
son.
Mhm.
But Denzel Whitaker is not related to Forrest Whitaker. He's not related to Denzel Washington either. But
I
he is from Torrance, California, though.
I just thought Forrest Whitaker was a big Denzel fan and named his.
So we've corrected those.
It's just, you know, for years also as a kid, you couldn't tell me that Joan Osborne was an Ozzy Osbourne's sister.
Okay, that's a leap. Okay, films released we didn't cover 97 minutes.
Oh, zooming right along. Yeah, on a slow week, we probably might have watched some direct like this, but it stars Jonathan Rhys Meyers and Alec Baldwin, and I think it's about a plane being hijacked. Uh, and it's directed by Timo Veronsela, the Finnish guy who did the Iron Sky movies, you know, the Nazis on the Moon movies.
Yes. Next is Americond.
It is sounds like a very depressing documentary directed by Sean Claffey.
Oh, you've seen this movie, Flamin' Hot.
I have, and I didn't love it, and you didn't seem very interested in watching it.
Well, because you said you didn't love it.
It's corny, but you know the lead guy, Jesse Garcia, is giving a good performance. It's Ava Longoria's directorial debut, and it is about the origination of a janitor working in a chip shop, originating the flavor of Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Next, Mending the Line.
This is a veteran drama directed by Joshua Caldwell and starring Brian Cox and Cinqua Walls, who we just saw in the not very good remake of White Men Can't Jump.
Persian Lessons.
You know, I saw this in Berlin, probably, God, probably 2020.
Oh,
I want to say because I saw this in a theater at the Berlin Film Festival. Anyway, it's Vadim Perelman, who about 20 some years ago was a big deal because of House of Sand and Fog, starring Ben Kingsley and Jennifer Connelly, which was a film I liked. And then his follow up, I think, was kind of a big flop, but I kind of remember liking that too. It was called The Secret Before Her Eyes. But you know what? I haven't seen it since it came out, so I might think differently now. But he had a new film starring Lars Eidinger as a Nazi officer who desires to learn Persian, and he asks one of his little victims in whatever concentration camp they're in who speaks it, and Nahel Biscayart says, "Oh, I can speak Persian," and then proceeds to teach this man to save his life fake Persian because he can't speak
oh God.
it. So this big dummy is out here. It's an okay film. It's worth a watch.
Lastly, Scarlet.
This opened the director's fortnight last year at Cannes, directed by Pietro Marcello, whose Martin Eden we reviewed. I think it was just me that watched it though. This I had high expectations for. I even went so far as to read the Russian novel it's based on by Alexander Grin, which is very much, has a flavor of something like Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island, but tells the story of this woman throughout 20 years. And I had to say, I think the film was rather dull. But anyway, that came out.
Oh, projects of interest. Something by Catherine Bigelow.
Oh yeah, somebody got bitched at because the director of photography of some new project that nobody knows about, Arseny Kachatern, apparently posted something on Instagram like a clapperboard of the film
Oh,
that has since been deleted. And anyway, Catherine Bigelow's got a new movie coming out, y'all. Which good because I didn't like Detroit.
not the city, the
No, the
movie.
film, which is about racist cops in an incident in 1967. You didn't watch that movie.
No.
Ugh.
Next, something with Shia LaBeouf.
Shia, who Abel Ferrara cast him as the lead in Padre Pio, and it was his first time working after his drama, and it's not very good. I thought it was in Venice last. God, was that? Yeah, in 2022. Anyway, apparently they got along, Abel and Shia, and Shia LaBeouf is writing a film about Auschwitz.
Oh,
I feel like there are some stories that you aren't qualified to tell, maybe, but I'd be interested to see what they come up with.
next, Spectateurs.
Arnaud Desplechin has a new film that he's making, and all that I know about it has something to do with movie theaters. I sure hope it's a lot better than his last film, Brother and Sister, with Melville Poupeau and Marion Cotillard, which still hasn't come out here, but I can't wait till it does because it is so over the top. It's camp.
Lastly, Lost Flowers of Alice H.
The Last Flowers of Alice Hart, I just wanted to give a shout out because we talked about it when it was filming, but the trailer dropped this week
Hmm.
with
Let's take
Sigourney Weaver.
let's take a break. Movies we watched for fun. The Bride
Oh,
of Chucky.
oh, you weren't going to talk about Sigourney doing an Australian accent, okay? Um, yeah, we
I mean,
watched.
it was interesting, but she's not known for her accent work.
She's done
Because she
British.
had a British accent in that one movie about the big monster.
A Monster Calls. She had a British accent. The Year of Living Dangerously.
And that accent was. Is that her mom British?
Her mom's British. Was
Yeah.
she does this upper crust stiff thing.
Yeah. I was a little concerned. And then her accent in The Lost Flowers of Alice H. Right? That's what it is?
Lost Flowers of Alice Hart.
Yeah. That was interesting. But movies we watch for fun. Bride of Chucky.
Yeah, neither of us had ever seen this. 1998, I guess, cult classic. Ronnie Yu of Freddy vs. Jason and the Bride with White Hair fame directed. And the only reason to watch this movie is Jennifer Tilly.
To be fair, I wasn't in the mood, maybe. I think if I were in a better mood, and maybe watched it in a theater, I would have more fun.
Mm,
But I do think there are a lot of missed opportunities. And the best part to me is Jennifer Tilly.
I mean,
and then the two dolls interacting. So the fact that we have this trio of dum-dums
well, it's like Katherine Heigl. We have to spend all this time on her character.
and the gay character and then the hot boyfriend of Kit, like, okay.
I didn't give a damn about
They
them.
were, I mean, they had moments, but I
Mhm.
definitely thought they were squandering the best parts of the film.
Well, when Jennifer Tilly's doll, I'm forgetting her name,
Gets like lit on
burnt.
fire or something. That is so funny.
And she is like burnt to a crisp at the end and is heartbroken at Chucky's treatment of her.
That's where the film shines.
Yeah. Then there's a baby born. Oh my God. Looking like Candy Muse.
I would be willing to watch it again. Maybe if there's like a screening someday.
Sure.
I might enjoy it more. Next, Chicken for Linda.
That title. It's an animated film that was in the Acide section at Cannes this year. I had a screener for, directed by Sebastian Laudenbach and Chiara Malta, which I didn't really care for. It was only 70 some odd minutes and outstayed its welcome by well before then, I thought.
Loving Couples.
You skip-
What do we know about that?
Uh,
Did I watch it?
You were in the room while I was watching it.
Okay.
So it's the 1964 debut of Swedish actress Mai Zetterling, directed a handful of films that Criterion put three of them out on this little set that I'm supposed to review. But this was the first one. She reutilizes Sven Nykvist, the cinematographer, and a whole posse of Ingmar Bergman's usual suspects for this film that tells a story of three women in their relationship to childbirth, and then kind of has a really interesting setup of flashbacks that where we find out information about them and where they all became pregnant from. And one very excellent scene that unites all of them under a midsummer celebration. Yeah, I really like this. I thought it was. It feels shockingly ahead of its time. Apparently, it was. Uh, uh, People protested against it when it premiered at Cannes, but just how frank it is, that there's queer characters. It's. I was very impressed.
Oh, I watched the Netflix series Mer People. Uh,
I was wondering who was watching that. I assumed your mother, but
no, she has her own account.
I know, but then I assumed there was some mistake because I don't know why you were watching Mer People.
The description: Welcome to the whimsical world of professional mermaiding, where people's passion for swimming in fins has exploded into a $500 million industry. It's from the producers of Queer Eye.
Of,
Uh,
of course
there are
it
only
is.
4 episodes. I found it interesting. It is very queer because obviously any of the men who are participating in mermaiding are obviously homosexuals.
Mhm.
So that was interesting, and a couple of them seemed really sweet. One of the ladies who's also queer, uh, is like has a lot of anxiety. So seeing her like building up the courage to actually get in the water with people watching her was interesting. But I did think, God, we will make drama out of anything because
Mhm.
even these mermaids who want to just be happy and swim, somehow they find a little bit of drama in there. And
Yeah.
but there are some meaningful moments. Like one guy owns like a business that makes mermaid tails, and they do shows, and he has a friend with a drug problem, and he's been helping him. And there are some side stories that I thought were sweet, but I think the thing that was most compelling is the final episode. There's like a reunion, like a 75-year reunion, um, with like a lot of women who were doing mermaiding like back in the day, and
Oh,
seeing them, and like I actually would have loved a documentary just about those women.
sounds very League of Their Own.
It was it, it's interesting because it's not as sensational as like some other things. Because like watching that documentary about the plushies, or
Or Zoo.
or even like, well, the one about tickling, that one was interesting because that guy,
That was
yeah, that
creepy.
was more creepy. But this seemed pretty sweet, and um, it zipped on by.
All right.
Next, rapping.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You need to watch Rappin'. I watched it in preparation for something I'm writing, but Mario Van Peebles is the lead, who I like well enough. Uh, and then as I started, I realized we're in trouble when it was directed by Joel Silberg, who we saw his film Catch the Heat,
Which was fun,
which was fun but
but it's
fucking
terrible.
terrible. And this To Catch the Heat wasn't too far after this, so. And apparently, Rappin' was made in response to an earlier dance hit film called Breakin', which I haven't seen. Oh my god, the hip hop in this is atrocious. It is really bad. And Mario Van Peebles was overdubbed by Ice T and Master G. Ice T shows up for a performance in the film. Uh, the, ugh, it was really bad. Like what this, like when white people direct hip hop shit, is what it felt like, and but didn't understand anything about it. Um, I recommend you give it a gander.
Next, A Woman Kills.
A woman kills. I won't say too. I'm supposed to write about this for us, but I got somebody put this out. It's kind of a lost film.
Somebody put this out.
Uh, well, the restored it and everything. It's only an hour and 10 minutes. Directed by Jean Denis Bonnard, Bonhomme, and it is from the French New Wave. It's set in the 1960s about somebody killing women, a serial killer, and a woman is executed, and then the murders keep happening. So we find out who it is. It felt very much kind of like early Jacques Rivette to me. It felt like Paris does not belong to us, except for yeah. Anyway, you skipped a movie on this list, Werkmeister Harmonies.
Oh, go ahead.
hmm they had a screening of the restoration at the Cinematheque in Santa Monica on Tuesday that I happily went to because I haven't seen this, and I do really like Bellatar, and I'd say this is probably his masterpiece. But it's from the film from the year 2000. They flew Bellatar out here. He gave a Q&A. And I'm reading the book. It's based on the Melancholy of Resistance, which feels a lot different. The book is very verbose and kind of free flowing consciousness almost, and the movie is not like that at all. But it beautifully shot, and it is weird and excellent, and has a nice plum sized role for Hannah Scheigele. Yeah, I was into it.
The Werewolf of Washington.
This was garbage. This was straight up garbage, but I was attracted to it because it stars John Stockwell or Dean Stockwell as a man who's dating the president's daughter. We're told this in the opening like narration, and he's tired of her ass. So, but he doesn't want to sacrifice his career to break up with her. So he gets asked to be sent to Budapest, and immediately gets bitten by a werewolf, and then comes back.
Oh, I saw the scene where the U.S. president is in a helicopter with the Chinese
Prime
prime
Minister.
minister, and then someone is turning into a werewolf.
Dean is turning into a werewolf in front of their eyes, and and luckily the transition is done right as they're landing. It's the second, and I think he didn't direct any films after this by Milton Moses Ginsburg, but apparently he's well. This film was not received well, but he is known for an earlier film called Coming Apart with Rip,
Mm,
which I have a copy of.
that'll
Which
be a chapter in my book.
uh-huh. Okay, Chinua Achebe, and Coming Apart is a very apparently well received Rip Torn performance that I'll hopefully get around to watching. But yeah, Werewolf of
Splendid.
Washington was hard to sit through.
Just Cause.
This was dull to me.
Isn't there a movie with Common called? To continue. Oh,
Just Right
You're right. Yeah, just
with
right.
Queen Latifah.
Where Queen Latifah is his love interest.
They're a little mismatched in that. I think Pam Grier is a mama on that.
Pam Grier's in it. Paula Patton,
Yes.
Felicia Rashad. Yeah.
I've only seen that once. Anyway, Just Cause I'd never seen. It's directed by Arnie Glimcher, who didn't direct a lot of movies. He did direct The Mambo Kings with Antonio Banderas and who's that man that my mom liked from who played Gotti? Armand Asante. I'm
Oh.
pretty sure Armand Asante is in that. Um, I want to see Mambo Kings. I never have. Anyway, he was more of a producer. He notably produced Gorillas in the Mist. He directed this film based on a novel. I didn't. It's not very good. I thought it has some twists that I thought were a little stupid. But anyway, Sean Connery is this Harvard professor that's lured back into court by trying to assist this young man played by Blair Underwood, who is on death row. His grandma, but Ruby D, is goes to him for help. And then he successfully gets him off. It seems that the cops that arrested him, browbeat him and literally beat him into a confession. One of whom is played by Lawrence Fishburne, who in my opinion, has nothing to do in this film, even though he looks good. And then Ed Harris is this other vicious killer in prison. And it turns out, do you want me to ruin the twist for you?
Yes.
It turns out Ed and Blair were colluding for
Collusion.
there was collusion with Gina, and Blair Underwood gets out thanks to Ed Harris saying he killed this little girl, and then goes and murders Ed Harris's parents.
I feel like I saw part of this
You did see part of this,
because Blair Underwood's coming to mind.
and
Oh yes, yeah.
And then
It looked dull to me.
it was very dull. And then Sean Connery is married to Kate Capshaw, who is much too young for him. And I couldn't place who I thought she resembled in this film with that yellow hair. Anyway, Kate Capshaw is also a lawyer, and the twist, the real truth is, she had prosecuted Blair Underwood's character on a previous rape or assault charge and some technicality, got him off, but because of her doing, he was placed in prison for some time and apparently was castrated and so has a grudge against her. Anyway,
Blair was castrated.
yes, but then it all the the denouement is basically lifted from Cape Fear, where we're in the swamp and Blair Underwood's big plan. He's kidnapped Kate Capshaw and Scarlett Johansson, the 6-year-old daughter,
Oh.
that he's going to rape and or murder both of them and is eventually eaten by an alligator.
Christopher Murray is kind of giving me Ewan McGregor.
In Just Cause,
Mhm.
is he the white cop?
Yes.
Sure.
Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, and then Kate Capshaw is kind of giving me Catherine O'Hara. Maybe it's just the angle.
Oh, Catherine O'Hara does a voice in Elemental.
Oh, yeah. Lastly, I watched the Netflix documentary Anna Nicole Smith, You Don't Know Me, which I think is funny because there was nothing about this story I didn't already know. So You Don't Know Me is like, well, I don't know what. It wasn't illuminating, but maybe that's because for my age range and the fact that I would watch all the. I did watch her reality TV show on E, and of course I used to watch like the E True Hollywood story. Like I'm very familiar with Anna Nicole Smith, so this documentary wasn't anything I didn't know, but
It wasn't enlightening.
no, but it certainly is sad. And
Yeah, what an odd, bizarre.
but the most disturbing part of it is her. Well, because it's like he said. Well, it's she said because Anna Nicole would. She basically said her mom was like a monster, and that her mom like abused her and was awful to her and let men come into the house to rape her. But the mom is saying that's not true. That
Of course.
the mom was actually quite nice, and that Anna told her that she only said that because she gets more attention if she has a sad life story. But then three people, I mean, the mom says that it's not true. The brother says it's not true. And Anna's best friend says that that story she told is my story.
Oh.
Like everything that Anna, like there's some interview that Anna did with some, whatever, Dateline or not Dateline, Good Morning America. I don't know. But her friend is like, yeah, every word she says is like what I told her about my childhood. So, and then there are other people like her bodyguard, her longtime bodyguard, who talk about how like she played up being like drunk and high. And
Oh, I believe that.
so like when that famous MTV, I think it was like Video Music Awards thing where she awarded, what's it, Kanye West an award, the one where she looks like she's super high. The bodyguard was like, she did that on, like, she was fine. And as soon as she got off stage, she was fine. But she knew she got more attention if she acted like a mess.
I mean, that's not just like Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie on A Simple Life.
Right.
Like it's all an act.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see sort of like the originators of this type of celebrity where it's like, I don't really have any skills, but I'm famous, and then I parlay that into something. The one thing I didn't know, and this is because the case wasn't settled until 2018, so of course by then I didn't give a shit anymore about this story, but originally she was married to J. Howard Marshall, that billionaire,
that old man
who made money off of oil. So he said he wanted to leave half of his money to her. And of course, the son contested it, and it spent years and years and years and years in court. Finally, she was awarded a large sum, not half. It was maybe close to like 100 million, not the probably 600 million she should have received.
Still, that's a good take.
But it was still being held because there were disputes. And then it wasn't until 2018 that it was finally settled that, like there will be no money because, of course, Anna died, and then it was, well, her son died first, and then Anna died,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a battle between, oh, that awful lawyer. Do you remember that her? She had like a boyfriend, quote unquote, who was also an attorney named Howard Stern. Do you remember him?
I do, yeah.
Oh, he was such a creep. They were trying to pretend that he was the father of her baby.
That's right.
But then that other guy, Larry Burkhart, with that awful center part blonde hair,
Mm-hmm.
who looked like a homosexual, he was saying, "I'm the baby's daddy." So then that was being contested. Finally, when she dies, they do the testing and realize that he's the father of Danny Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, well, she'll inherit this $100 million trust. But then in 2018, the, it was decided that she's not entitled to that money.
God.
So all this, and then no one ended up with money. But
Oh,
all these people latched onto her.
the best laid plans of mice and men.
I mean, the frenzy that the documentary shows when J. Howard Marshall died. And of course, everyone thought, oh my God, Anna Nicole Smith is getting half of a billionaire's fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was like she was being sued from every which way by people trying to get money from J. Howard
Mm-hmm.
because she's his wife, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy. And also watching her on like the Sunset Strip and hearing the paparazzi talk about that environment and how these celebrities knew what they were doing, which I always said. Because even living in LA, it's like, you know, the areas where the commotion is.
Yeah, you could
You could easily stay away.
very easily. LA is sprawling. You can get right away from it.
And for people who don't know, TMZ stands for 3 Mile Zone. And it's that area that's like West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, kind of going to the Grove and up to Hollywood. Like there's a specific area where all the crazy shit happens that people see on TV related to like LA.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You could, that's why a lot of like people in the industry live in the valley, like Studio City. No,
mm-hmm.
it's just over the hill
Yeah,
and you could have less
but
chaos.
Jennifer Lopez does not need to shop at Zara at the Grove, so you know that when she does, she's trying to be seen.
Yeah. So the documentary I think is well put together, and for a person who, if a person doesn't know anything about Anna Nicole Smith, I do think it's informative. But moving on, thankfully there are no entries in the obituary section. So let's take a break before we talk about the secret movie. Our secret film today was my choice. I wanted to do something gay or queer or trans since it's Pride Month. So I chose the 1992 thriller film The Crying Game, directed by Neil Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
What do I know from Neil Jordan?
Interview with the Vampire, of course.
Okay.
But we reviewed his last film, Marlowe, with Jessica Lange and Liam Neeson,
Oh,
which notably, I'm pretty sure, I think it might be the only or one of the only films not starring his usual collaborator, Stephen Ray,
oh.
which I remember being surprised at when we reviewed that.
Stephen Ray is an Interview with a Vampire?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
He's part of the troupe that European troupe of vampires that take down Louis and Claudia for killing their master Lestat.
I need to rewatch Interview with a Vampire. I keep saying that.
I am a fan of his film, and there's a lot of I think he tried to make it as queer as he could. And I feel you must have seen Breakfast on Pluto
Is that with
Cillian Murphy.
No, but no, I haven't. But it made me think of that video of Cillian Murphy and like all his mean looks. He has like a sour face.
Oh, and you've seen Greta
With Isabel?
with Isabel
Neil
Huppert.
Jordan did that?
Yes, he did.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, quite the accomplished person. The Crying Game won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. It was also nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Stephen Ray, Best Supporting Actor. Oh, I didn't know that, for Jay Davidson.
Yes.
Wow. And Best Film Editing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's excellent.
It is, but it's funny to think back, like since there simply was nothing else that kind of sparked public interest like that about trans stories, that this film became the butt of so many transphobic jokes in the 90s.
I had never seen it, and I knew that there was a like I thought it was about a trans person, and like that was the star of the movie. And
No, he's the secret.
but Jay Davidson plays a character named Dill, who is presenting as like a trans woman. I mean, she's a supporting character for sure, but the story is not at all what I thought it would be. It's I didn't realize I didn't realize it was more of sort of like a suspense thriller.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a romance drama type movie.
Yeah, no.
And then the poster art that I know is that, which is what's on your DVD of Miranda Richardson.
Hmm.
So I guess it never occurred to me that that wasn't the trans woman. Like I knew that Dill is like a person of color,
Hmm.
but I guess in the cover art, I thought, oh, maybe that's a photograph of Dill with a wig on or something.
Sure.
So yeah, I was very surprised. But the basic story is that Forrest Whitaker is a member of the British Army, and he's in Ireland,
Hmm.
and he gets snatched up by some IRA people,
Hmm.
like holding him hostage. And the main, well, it's Miranda Richardson and Stephen Ray, and then the other guy
Adrian Dunbar,
who you said looked like. Didn't you say he looked like someone?
that Australian drag queen.
Oh, Anita Wiglet.
Yeah, out of drag.
Out
Yeah.
of drag. But anyway, those three kidnap Forrest. But Stephen, and the way they're able to capture him is Miranda Richardson feigns this like fake romance with Forrest Whitaker to lure him into where they basically hold him hostage. And Stephen Ray is the main one watching Forrest Whitaker, and they become friends. And this is over the course of like a day.
Hmm.
It's not like he's been held captive for weeks and weeks. It's like before nightfall, they become friends, and it's decided that they're going to kill Forrest Whitaker. So Stephen Ray says, well, let me do it.
But part of that friendship is uh, Jody, Forrest Whitaker, shows him a picture of his girl, Dill.
Yeah, at a point, yeah. And
And
he tells him, like, listen, I know you're going to kill me. So will you please just find my girl
look out for her.
and look out for her? So Stephen Ray takes Forrest Whitaker out to kill him, and then Forrest Whitaker like runs, but not like it's almost kind of cute. Like, come on, we're friends. You're not going to shoot me, and he starts running, and then oh my gosh, the people talk about the shock of finding out that Jay Davidson's character is trans. I thought the biggest shock in this movie is Forrest Whitaker is running from Stephen Ray, and we think he's going to get away, and he runs into the street, and a huge ass tank
Hmm.
like hits and kills him.
Because the British Army is looking for him.
Because and then the British Army lights up the IRA's like little headquarters in the
Hmm.
woods. We can get back to that, but anyway, then we fast forward, and Stephen Ray is now back wherever Forrest Whitaker's from, the big city. Is
Hmm.
it? Are we told are they in like Dublin or something?
I don't know where they are.
Yeah, it's not clear to me where they are. Like, or maybe they're back in the UK.
They're in the UK. Yeah.
Oh, so it wouldn't be Dublin. Okay, but it looks like they're in a big city. And Stephen Ray's looking for Dill.
In working construction.
He works in construction, and Dill is a hairstylist. Stephen Ray finds her, and they kind of start dating. But
They're in London.
oh, they are in London. Okay, it's weird because Stephen Ray keeps asking because Dill has portraits of Forrest Whitaker in her apartment,
All over.
all over.
Oh my God.
He keeps asking her about this guy, and she's like, God, like.
And his like cricket uniform.
But I guess every their story culminates with like they've been intimate, kind of like heavy. I don't know what kind of petting they were doing, but we see them kiss, and then one night they're about to have sex, I guess. So Dill gets naked, and that's when Stephen Ray sees that she has a penis,
Hmm. And immediately becomes,
and he
sick.
has a violent reaction.
No, he retches in the bathroom,
He vomits.
and then
Yeah,
he says he's
he
sorry.
does hit her, but it's not like he meant to punch her as much as like
He pushes her down
he
on the
pushes
bed.
her
Yeah.
down and like bloodies her nose. But then we see him think about it. He tries to apologize. She doesn't want to have anything to do with them, but then she approaches him, and it's clear that he does feel something for her.
and meanwhile, he's also kind of protected her from a person named Dave, played by Ralph Brown, who you just saw in Alien 3 as 85.
Who's kind of like, he's supposed to seem like a baddie, but he's really just obsessed with her,
He's
kind of,
obsessed with her, and he's toxic, but he's not
in a way that I'm sure many trans women can relate to, of these guys who are like obsessed with
just
them, but they want them to be their secret, but they want to control them,
just hanging around.
and
Yeah,
yeah, lurking, and
and
he's kind of like that.
he's wearing tracksuits.
So all the while, Miranda Richardson is like, has a stronghold on Stephen Ray, because she's like, we still have work to do,
What?
because you need to assassinate some political
Well,
figure.
no, he ran away in the melee. He ran away, so
He did, yeah.
he disappeared. So
So she found
she
him,
tracks his ass down.
and she says, I should kill you, but instead we've decided that you're going to be the one to assassinate this British political figure. So everything culminates with him doing that, but in the process, there's a there is a shooting, but
Because due to Dill's intervention, she actually ends up tying Stephen Ray up when he's supposed to do this assassination, which reminded me kind of Lena Wertmüller's Love and Anarchy. But
but
so
in the end, all three find themselves in an apartment: Miranda Richardson, Stephen Ray, and Dill, Jay Davidson's character. And Dill ends up killing Miranda Richardson. So now
Jude,
it would seem that Stephen Ray and Jay Davidson are free to pursue something in
Cavort,
in
Gallivant.
in peace. Yeah, this movie was uh much better than I guess I, because like you already mentioned, and for my reference, I just always thought it was like that one trans movie that everyone, is the butt of a million jokes and
Like
other
Ace
movies.
Ventura, Woo.
Yeah. But here, let me
But I'm not going to say it's. It does not feel like an exploitive film to me. They try to give Dill some interiority, and I feel bad for this character. Um, but the way that her gender identity is revealed is also, it's we're supposed to have this reaction, and then it's funny how the culture at large tries to put it back in a box. And I think something like the Academy Awards and their gendered categories does something like that, because it's like immediately, Jay Davidson getting nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Uh, that we're bringing you back into the gender fold. I don't know.
I'm just going to go through my notes. So when Forrest Whitaker's character is run over by the tank, like the British Army tank, and then they find the headquarters for this little IRA group, they blow that joint up to smithereens.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty entertaining. Not because I have some political stance on it, but just like it just was like, whoa, they are. And then they somehow, Miranda Richardson and the other guy still
Got away. Yeah.
They still get away.
Well, the IRA, they're tough.
So Dill's little boyfriend Dave, he's mad because Dill's moved on with Stephen Ray's character. So he shows up one day at her apartment, like yelling at her, and she throws out all of his clothes from like the third floor window.
Mm-hmm.
And then she throws out his goldfish.
Yeah, she
like he has like 3 little goldfish in a bowl, and she throws that entire bowl out the window.
She didn't have to do that.
She did not have to do that. Okay. I think probably the most interesting, well, a very interesting portion of this film is the bar Dill frequents. The Metro, which is, when we first see it, I assumed it was a gay bar or some sort of queer space.
Sure.
But then once we enter, it's like, oh no, it seems like a mainstream bar. And the bartender is played by
Jim Broadbent.
And it's there that Stephen Ray and Dill, develop a relationship. But I felt bad for the bartender because Dill engages him so much. Like when she first meets Stephen Ray there, she's telling the bartender, like, oh, tell him this. What did he say? I feel bad for that bartender.
He seemed to enjoy the camaraderie.
But the most interesting part is when Dill gets naked and Stephen Ray realizes she has a penis. Then she goes, "Well, you didn't know?"
She's like, I'm surprised you didn't know.
Because when we're at the bar, it it just seems like a sort of a mainstream bar, right? But
Yeah,
then after
but yeah, it's funny how after
after Stephen Ray realizes she's trans and then we see him in the bar, then it's like very
then
obvious.
it's like, oh my god, I suddenly see all these characters that also present to me as trans.
But that was, I mean that's the filmmaker's choice, right?
Yes,
Because like when we're these people weren't in the scenes we saw
they were not
prior.
extras in those scenes
No, but
before.
in the
No.
scenes after, it's like, oh yeah, this is, which you already brought up the film Woo,
Hmm.
but there is a trans nightclub in Woo.
Hmm.
And so it reminded me of that. What year was Woo?
98.
Oh, so several years after. Yeah, because they make a joke of this movie in Woo.
Hmm.
Um, the
And we see in that bar, Dill performs the song "The Crying Game," which of course Boy George sings on the soundtrack.
and I thought she's pretty captivating.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's pretty
I
captivating.
read that she was plucked. Uh, Somebody saw her at a rap party for Derek Jarman's Edward II, and so this must have been casting about then. It was a fashion photographer, and then did not like the attention that they received, um, and was offered Stargate, of course, and turned it down and asked for $1 million, thinking that she'd never get that, and they gave it to her, so that's why she's also in Stargate. But has since gone back into fashion photography. But even
Yeah, I was reading that about him as well. Is that he? First of all, he's not trans, and uh, like he identifies as I
that's
think
true,
I think his
actually,
pronouns
yeah,
are he, him,
yeah.
Jay Davidson, and yeah, that he did not like the attention from being famous. But imagine, well, because I also read that he felt like everyone knew him for this role, and that being an effeminate gay male is not desirable within the gay community. So
Hmm.
he had a hard time with that because people saw him that way,
Yeah.
and then all the nasty jokes that were being made, and like you mentioned, he didn't think they'd give him $1 million, and they did, so he did it, but that was it.
But even reading interview snippets of Davidson's at the time, it's sad to hear him say, uh, like he felt bad for Stephen Ray, like having to kiss him. It's like, Jesus.
Well, I mean, that seems like he's just being sensitive to the fact that I'm sure people made jokes to Stephen Ray about kissing
Yeah,
a
but
man,
it's like
basically.
nobody's twisting Stephen Ray's arms, and his buddy directed the movie.
No, and he's probably not saying that. Like
No,
he's
but
saying that I'm sure he would say very nice
it's
things about the experience, but
probably, but it's just sad to me, like where queer people go in their heads when.
well, I think when you're disenfranchised, you have to sort of rationalize things for other people. Like you have to learn. Some of us are good at putting ourselves in other people's shoes and trying to be
Hmm.
sensitive, and some of us are they don't give a shit
Uh
and
huh.
they're very out loud and abrasive. But yeah, I mean, I have to talk about Dill's hair because when we first meet her, she has a beautiful head of like long curly hair and it's beautiful. And then at a point, because Miranda Richardson is threatening Stephen Ray by saying, like, I'm going to get your little girl too.
Hmm.
So he comes up with the bright idea to make Dill look like a man.
Hmm. Which the trauma that would
Yeah, that
cause.
scene was very interesting because it's like he's Stephen Ray's manipulating Dill,
Hmm.
but for her own good,
To save her life.
saying like I want to be with you, but I would prefer you look like a boy. And
Hmm.
she's like, "What?"
Which is a lie.
Which is a lie because he doesn't want that, but he's trying to protect her. So she of course is in love with him, so she says yes. And when he cuts her hair, that shit looks so bad.
It
And
is.
then he puts her in Forrest Whitaker's cricket uniform,
Which is 5 sizes too big.
which is exceedingly too large for her. So she looks crazy. And then they're like running. I feel like that's drawing more attention than if Dill would have just stayed like Dill.
Right.
But so her with the short hair looked horrible. But then when the dust settles and Miranda's dead, who by the way gets is pretty graphic because she gets shot in the neck.
Yep,
And we
she
see
does.
her get shot in the
Can I
neck.
also say I really like Miranda Richardson in this
I do
movie?
too. And I always think about her in Ab Fab when she plays Eddie's like in the show, Miranda Richardson's character is supposed to be like this super like anal, like super clean person. But Eddie hasn't seen her in a long time. So when she shows up to Eddie's house, Miranda has a kid and it's all chaos. And then Eddie ends up sleeping with Miranda's like baby's daddy in the episode.
I also think she's good in Vivian Vile,
Oh, and then she does another show with Jennifer Saunders called The Life and Times of Vivian Vile,
which only had one season.
which you bought me the season, and it's really good. But she
Yeah,
plays
she plays Jennifer Saunders' boss.
and she's this like rich woman who has a Spanish speaking nanny, and because she's so detached from raising her own children, now the kid only speaks Spanish,
Yeah.
so she can't communicate with her baby. That's the best part of that.
You know, one of her early roles is Dance with a Stranger, which I want to say is 84, and she plays the last woman executed in the UK.
Oh,
Oh, she's been around for years. She's so good.
but getting back to Dill's hair after the dust settles, and now she can be with, you know, Stephen Ray's character Freely, Fergus. Her new hairdo, because now it's grown out a little bit. Based on the length, I would say that like a year has passed.
Give me Whitney.
That's what I wrote down. She's giving me Whitney in the "I'm Your Baby Tonight" video. It's kind of a mess.
It's not the best, but
Dill looks amazing before her hair gets cut.
It's funny. The film opens with the song "When a Man Loves a Woman," and then closes with an equally gendered kind of pop song. But it's just clearly Jordan was aware of playing with the
lyrical content.
Well, playing with this, how just how goddamn conditioned we are to see the world in a certain way. And I don't believe Neil Jordan's a queer filmmaker in any respect, but it is clear to me that his filmography showcases a whole litany of characters that are non-binary in a way, that are like the vampires in Interview with the Vampire, the straddling two worlds, the living and the dead, and he would later revisit vampires in Byzantium, or the mermaid film he did that I don't like, Undine, and he revisited trans people again in, there's a character in The Good Thief with Nick Nolte, and I'm trying to think, or Cillian Murphy in Breakfast on Pluto.
I avoided this movie for so many years because I thought, oh, it's going to be a hard watch because I don't want to see a trans woman be treated poorly. And there is some of that in this film, but it is so different from what I thought. It's like a legit thriller.
It is. And I think it's doing very interesting things, again, that aren't, I think it's trying not to be exploitive. And, because I feel bad for Dill's behavior makes sense to me, falling in love with all these men. And she even has a line that says, that's Dill. You treat me nice, and I'm in love with you. And it's like,
well, but it makes sense, right? People who don't get the attention they need latch on to any attention,
right?
So it's interesting. I wouldn't know anything about that, but I don't want any attention. But what would you give this movie?
I think 4 out of 5. I think it's just a film. No, clearly it got rave reviews and a bunch of Oscar glory, but I think it's worthy of being recuperated in a way.
I think it's excellent. I would give The Crying Game 4 out of 5. What do we have this week? We're going to see The Blackening.
The Blackening, Indiana Jones and the Dial Tone of Destiny.
Is that really what it's called?
It's
the Dial Tone of
Dial.
Oh, The Dial of Destiny.
I didn't think Dial Tone's funny.
I have no interest in watching that movie, by the way.
Oh, I was hoping I could convince you to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, maybe if you help me prepare for the day, there'll be time for that.
Okay. Threats.
Maintaining the house you also pay for. Nick doesn't want to participate in his life beyond the two things he likes to do.
That's not true, man.
Maybe you clean up this house and maybe we can watch that movie.
Extraction 2,
The Flash,
Yeah,
And
that's
then
this
in
week.
about 45 minutes, we're going to record a video with the ladies from the Diagnosing Movies and Sitcoms podcast.
Yes.
I can say what the movie is because we did a poll.
Hmm.
We gave people options, and overwhelmingly, Waiting to Exhale
Yes,
won the poll.
it did.
So we're going to talk about Waiting to Exhale. I think it's going to be a fun conversation
Yeah,
because there's a lot to talk about,
there's a lot to talk about.
and there's a lot of bullshit going on in this movie.
That's true.
But we're going to have that. So I'm assuming, oh, because Asteroid City drops on Monday tomorrow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll drop Waiting to Exhale on Tuesday.
Okay.
Because are we watching anything Monday?
Probably Extraction 2.
Oh, well, we're gonna have a lot of videos this coming week then.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds stressful. Anyway, what else would you like to say?
No, I can't think of anything.
Well, again, thank you to everyone who sponsors the podcast. If you'd like, you can go to Spotify and give us some money on a monthly basis. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I also wanted to mention, speaking of asking for shit and me complaining about all the things, I hate when like salespeople tell you that you're going to be sent a survey and
Mm-hmm.
to give them like 5 stars or 10 or whatever the rating is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me what to give you. Why don't you give me good service so that when I do get the survey, I'm compelled to give you a top rating? I hate that.
I know you do.
Isn't that presumptuous?
It is presumptuous, but most people are easily manipulated and guided in that way, so that's why they do
It
it.
seems so like you're not self-aware.
That could be part of the problem too. Yeah.
Like I don't think that you gave me 10-star service. I wouldn't even give you 7-star service. Like I'm probably going to give you a 6 now that you're asking me. Like you really thought you gave me cream of the crop service?
Cream of the Crop Service LLC.
Cream of the crop service LLC.
Are you you're doing a poll today? Are you
For what?
for
The next live?
Mhm.
I'll probably drop the poll tomorrow.
Mhm.
But I think the theme I was thinking the theme could be no homo.
Oh.
And it would be gay movies with like straight male, so like Brokeback Mountain or
Oh,
Call Me
yes.
by Your Name,
Okay.
or I mean those are only 2 I can think of.
Well,
I'm sure you could think
there's a lot.
I'm sure you can think of 3 others.
There are a
But I
lot.
was hoping to get 5 films that are kind of equally, because I think Brokeback Mountain and Call Me by Your Name could split a vote.
Well,
So I would like to get like an even bigger split.
or you could call it Gay Face.
Or Gay for Pay.
Gay for Pay, yeah.
Maybe I'll call it Gay for Pay. Anyhow, I'm all done. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.